Hey guys, Common Sense Outdoorsman here. I want to go over two knives today, similar knives. Well, not similar, but same maker. Um, so let's go down to the table, and these are Uncle Henry knives. And these are not older U.S. knives. These are China-made knives through the different companies that has owned Schrade since then. These are Uncle Henry knives, and they are different, but and you know, you can tell what I like about these knives. That Staglon just does it for me. And the one on the bottom is the next generation Staglon. That's the lighter browner Staglon. And that is the golden spike knife. The one up above is the elk hunter knife. And that is the old style first generation Staglon. Now the knife on the bottom, the golden spike, is an older model, but it's a newer knife to me. I've had that knife for just a couple of years since they came out with that next generation Staglon. The knife on top, the elk hunter, is a newer model made by Uncle Henry, but the knife to me is older because I got that knife when it first came out. I don't know, maybe it was about 6 or 7 years ago when they first came out of with that design. But we're going to give these a knives to work out and just show you what they can do. A few differences in these knives, and we'll talk about the golden spike first. You know, their standard Schrade sheath, we talked about it before, they're okay. This one comes with a rough sharpening stone in there. It'll work if you need it. Holds the knife well. This knife is this is strictly more of a hunting knife, okay? That's a very fine, thin tip, and I'm telling you, if you use that tip in any kind of a harsh way, you're going to bend it, and it'll eventually break. This is not made for much more than light work or hunting work. And also, the tang of the knife only comes into the Staglon handle so far. Then there's a fastener on there, some kind of a screw that hooks to the tang. It goes through the Staglon handle, okay? And then this brass screw on the butt screws into that inside screw. There's threads on the end of that screw, and it screws it together and holds it together. So this is not a heavy use knife. This is hunting first, and you can do some light other tasks with it, some light camp tasks and light belt task knives. And that's what you would do with this knife. The elk hunter, a little bit different, doesn't have a sharpening stone on the sheath. This one's a little tougher. This one it's a hunting knife design. And as you can tell, one of the things I like about knives is this one has that nice continuous curve in the blade all the way from the tip to the guard. So very good for woodworking, and you can roll this into other rolls. It is a full tang knife, unlike the golden spike, and this one is the 183 UH, the elk hunter. So full tang. So this one's going to be a little stronger, a little tougher. You can see that the spine is certainly, if I can get these together here, the spine is certainly thicker, the tip is thicker than the golden spike. So this knife you can roll into some light survival tasks. You can do some more batoning with this knife, some heavier tasks. You can definitely do some heavier tip work with it. If you can see that tip, it's much thicker tip. And both these knives are 7CR17. I find that Schrade, their 7CR17 is pretty good. It heat treated properly, it'll do okay. It's a knife steel, okay? So there's the first generation Staglon handle. This one has the finger grooves. They fit my hand. If finger grooves don't fit your hand, they could be a problem, but this one works for me. So if you don't like finger grooves, this knife may not be for you. It's got the nice big pins in it there. Okay. So the elk hunter and the golden spike, we're going to give these knives and put them through some paces and just show you what they can do. All right, I'm back at my outdoor workstation magically, And excuse the wind, it is windy out here today. But let me show you. I've got both these knives on my belt, so you can see how they ride on the belt. Okay, and they both ride good. They feel comfortable. No problems. Okay, so I think we'll use the elk hunter first. And the elk hunter, if I didn't mention, that is a high saber grind, and that whole grind area there is flat grind. So it just has a little bit of a flat at the top. So this would be considered really for the grind a high saber grind. But that's a beautifully flat ground blade. Very nice. But let's try this one out first. Get you situated here. Let's get down to the workstation. Maybe get you a little closer. There we go. Nice. Okay. So this is the elk hunter, the 183 UH. And this one we'll be able to put more pressure on because this is the full tang one. Okay. So, like I said, it does have the finger grooves, but it works for me, especially in my gloved hand in this cold weather. And I don't know. Let's leave this round and see if this knife can. See if this can feather right off the round. This is either pine or spruce. It was kind of hard to tell. So it's going to be harder than the aspen. And wow, this really, I like this edge. It's not a real thin edge, but this knife, the elk hunter, did come very sharp. I kind of like how that acts on the round. Very nice. Huh. Let's see. Let's put that over there. Let me take the golden spike out. If you remember, this is a lot thinner blade. This is a hollow grind. Primarily just going to be for hunting, but let's see what other things we can do with it. I don't have any game to clean here, so we're going to play around with this wood. This is a thinner edge, although I wouldn't say it's doing a whole lot better than the elk hunter, but it's nice also. I like the way it feels against that round, and it too is taking the wood off. And this piece is hard. I like to choose a hardwood, so. And there's a little shine on that. I don't know if you can see. So that is a nicely cured piece. I think it's pine. I think this is pine, not spruce. All right, pretty good. Let's take you up a little higher. You can see how long this piece is. Let's baton this down with the more solid knife, the elk hunter. Should be no problems. I wouldn't, see wood's a little tough. I wouldn't baton this with the other knife. Not that big of a piece. Let's baton this down some more. Okay, good. And then let's use the less strong knife on this smaller piece. This is back to the golden spike, and see if we can bit off a piece with this. Should be all right. Yep. Oh, that is a tough, still a tough piece of wood. Okay. Good, so that gives us some good small pieces to work with. Let's see what kind of feathers we can get going with the golden spike, and I'm just going to interchange the knives. This has got the finer edge. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's nice. The handle feels good. Of course, I've got my gloves on in this cold weather. And I use gloves most of the time. One thing you don't want to do is get an injury to your hands. If you do, it's going to make life in the woods a little miserable. So you do want to protect your hands. But this is really working some fine curls. Golden spike. Wow, that's really nice. That feels good. You can cut that right off there, and then you'll end up with a nice piece of curls. Nice feather stick. Get your fire started. All right, let's go back to the elk hunter, the full tang knife, thicker edge. Yeah, it's a little different than the golden spike. Like I say, it's a thicker edge. It's gonna want to take off bigger chunks. It's a little bit more difficult, but it's still a nice edge. Some of these have fallen off. So it's a little different edge angle, a little steeper of an angle, so a little more difficult to get the fine feathers. But it'll do it. I like this knife. Okay, now these will all just fall off. And you can feel the strength of this blade over the golden spike for sure. So yeah, nice. I like that. Let's do some tip stuff. First, the elk hunter. Down a little bit more, I guess. And this one you can get a little rougher with, I'm gonna guess. This tip is a lot thicker. Yeah. It's gonna have some good strength to it. So you're gonna be able to put the elk hunter into different roles. Definitely light survival stuff, more camp chores, good belt knife, and you're going to have a lot more versatility with this knife than the golden spike. And I don't feel like this knife is at all in any danger of breaking the tip off doing this to the tip. Now, I always like to say this isn't a demonstration on how to use a knife. I'm just trying to test the toughness of the knife. So these are not any kind of a knife task. It's just a test. Although you will make feather sticks with a knife, but you may not be this rough on the tip of your knife. So yeah, I don't feel like this knife is in any danger of breaking doing this kind of stuff. It's not a chopping knife, it's a very light knife, but Just want to show its toughness. Oh gosh, all right. I just noticed that we do have a failure on the elk hunter. Where did it go? As you can see, my brass guard has come off. Very interesting. Wow. See that? The brass guard went flying somewhere. I don't see it. Oh, here it is. There's the brass guard that came off, and it looks like it just wasn't tacked on there good enough. I don't know how they should have attached that to it. So there's a fail. There is an honest fail. And I wasn't too rough with it. Let's see if I can slide it back on there. Yeah. So it goes back on there. I'm going to try to JB weld that back on there. So, okay. I like this knife, but that's a fail. That brass guard was not attached properly. So let's put that aside. Let's go to the golden spike. Now back to the golden spike. Now the golden spike, you're not going to do... I know that if I jam this in this wood, that tip is just going to bend. It's very light. So that's all the kind of work you're going to be able to do with this knife is light cutting. Notching. That kind of thing. The edge is good. Really like the edge. I really like this knife for feather sticking. Very good for feather sticking. Some more light tip work. And yeah, you can just feel it. This tip, you just not going to be able to do much with it. Not what this knife is designed for. Okay. But you can do some work with it. No problem at all. This is a piece of spruce here. Should be a little harder than the pine. Okay. And it does have some hard frozen bark on there. See if you can carve some chunks off with the golden spike. Yeah, I like the edge on this. Light camp knife, hunting knife for sure. Light belt knife, not for heavy tasks. But yeah, I like that edge. Let's go back to the busted elk hunter. see how it, and I've got the guard back on there. It'll come off again. But I do like this edge also, and this has a stronger feel to it. They just did not tack that brass guard on there at all. It was just kind of pushed on there from the best I can tell. I like the way it cuts though. I like this blade edge also. Tougher edge. Tougher edge for sure. And it'll still feather decently. Yeah, feather's very nice. So the guard on the elk hunter is a fail. I'm going to put that back on there, probably with some JB weld. I'm not going to attempt a warranty. I didn't pay that much for this knife. It's not designed for this kind of use. It's not for chopping. It's not for batoning. Although in the advertisement, the Schrade advertisement years ago, they did say it could be used as a survival knife. But I'm going to make it easy and just JB weld that back on there myself. Strong tip, strong blade though. I think you can do a lot with this knife. It's just a fail on Uncle Henry, Schrade Uncle Henry's part on putting that guard on there properly. Yeah, that's a tough tip. I do like the Stair 7 CR17. Just don't like the way they put the guard on there. So there you have it, guys. The elk hunter, like it very much. Although the guard did fail. Here is the golden spike. I do recommend them for the proper use. And after I tack that back on there, I'll use it more and give you an update in the future on how that guard holds up. All right, guys. Common Sense Outdoorsman. We'll see you later.